feature film called Captain Schnauzer. That's what kind of got me started on all this stuff. And from there I did Swiss Family Robinson, and then I got into directing a lot of live action films, a lot of Academy Award movies like Double Hawk, Cinema Paradiso, Drink Man Woman, Dancing Master, things like that. And then I got into directing a lot of anime series like No End, Fighting Spirit, Live on the Third, to name a few. And now I'm directing a lot of games, like Star Ocean 1 and 2, and some other games that I can't remember right now, but Blue Dragon is one of them. But I've directed a lot of stuff over the years, and it's really fun. I get to direct myself, which is always nice, because me as a director, me as an actor get along really well. So we always agree on everything. So anyway, that's my background in directing.
Hi, I'm Schemmel, and I no longer direct, but when I was directing, I directed the first 2 volumes of Oh My Goddess, Midori Days, Space Pirate Mito, Saga to the Destroyer, the last volume of Berserk. What else did I do? I'm trying to think, it's been so long. Nana 77, and it's most of them. Oh, The Weathering Continent, and that's pretty much it. But I thought I would join the panel because I have some experience doing this, so might be able to share something. I don't know.
All right. I'm Wayland, and I've been doing this for a while. I've directed, a lot of stuff. I directed a lot of things for Central Park Media back in the day when I used to work for them. A couple of pretty cool shows I worked on, like Alien 9, was really neat, and I did the animated Ichi the Killer, the prequel thing, which is pretty hardcore. I worked on World Norway, which is a cute show, and I directed a lot of stuff for kids as well. I did Mutant Power and Magic Go Ray Me, and I used to pitch it for them, so I also directed like a little bit of G.I. Joe, a little bit of Winx, and I've been directing Pokemon for the last 3.5 years. That's right. Pika Pika! And you're hungry. And I've also directed a lot of non-anime stuff, a ton of animation, a lot of foreign animation, but some also original American stuff, which has been pretty cool. A lot of live action dubbing, Turkish soap operas starring him.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I've been busy.
Yeah, I did a Turkish soap.
So that's big. Brina.
Hi, I'm Brina Palencia.
Wow.
And I ADR directed School Rumble, last 8 episodes of New Space, the Hall movie and first 8 episodes of the series, and Blackwell Brothers. And I currently music direct. I don't really ADR direct that much anymore. But I music directed second season of Negma, my Rise of the Mermaid. I'm currently doing Rosario the Empire. And I know I music directed a lot of other stuff, but I can't remember.
We're the only people that do not have any directing experience worth hearing about.
People are coming up with me. They
Oh, man.
Bite me, Wayland. It's also by the lovely lady.
Chris is Tatum.
I swear to God. We're get like an ass kicking right across the page. It's gonna be awesome.
Introduce yourself.
We've been introducing ourselves. That's
My
fine.
name is Chris Ayres, ADR director for, oh gosh, ADV Films, Amusement Park Media, Seraphim Digital Studios. Yeah,
Cool.
that's it.
Jim William, director of Funimation. Projects I've worked on have been, let's see, Aquarion, Romeo and Juliet, Really Love is Most Night, also done a little bit of directing on Big Mind Up, and Shibani.
Oh, what's this over here? Okay.
Really know what you're. Go ahead.
Nerma Daikon Brothers, second season of The Wallflower, Mermaid Melody, Pitch Pitch Pitch, Magic Hano, Xenosaga the Animation.
Without me.
I don't. That broke my heart, Richard.
That broke my heart too.
Yeah.
We'll tell you the story.
Yeah. We will.
It's a sad tale. All right, so everyone introduce themselves. Do you have any questions for us about directing? I think you had one first.
Yeah. How do you know exactly like when you're directing, how to get the most out of each person that you're working with, and how much control do you have over the process after everyone's been writing? You've already seen that what's essentially almost a finished product between the writing, the music, and the voice, and all that's left to really do is dub and cut things.
Well, so what's the, you're asking all of us this question?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to start?
Well, it varies from project to project, and it also varies on who your producer is.
True.
Some producers have a very active hand in what you do. Some take a very hands-off approach. I will say that the stuff that we do in Houston, we don't edit anything. We can't change any of it. We don't rotoscope anything. We don't make any changes like that. I think the most important thing, if I'm following the question, and I'm very tired, so I may not be, is that, and I think this is for all of us, our job is essentially being the caretaker of someone else's creation. And we have to honor that. So, you know, we do have to occasionally make changes to the script, the ADR script that we get, in order to make it fit flaps and make it look good. But every director worth their salt that I know tries to keep the original creator's intent in their head when they're having their negotiations. That probably didn't answer your question. Okay.
Yeah, and then as far as how to get the right performance, I think that was another part of your question. To me, it really just depends on who the actor is, and knowing what their background is, and knowing what they would respond to. Like, you know, a stage or film actor, I feel, would be, you could say certain things to them differently than you can to someone who has never done music acting at all.
Exactly.
Or with a musician, you know, you can be more specific as far as, you know, placement of voice and all that. But as far as ADR directing. As far as music directing, which is what I do primarily now, my job is just to take the English translation of Japanese and adapt it rhythmically to the song. Because most of the time, it's, you know, like half the amount of syllables in the translation that's needed to make it actually sound good. So I do that while trying to keep the original intent as much as possible. And when they use random English words, as hard as it is sometimes, I try to make sure that I keep them in the same places. And then I also pick the singer. And it's kind of the same thing. I've had to direct a lot of non-singers on character songs, and it can be really hard, but that's actually, I think, my favorite part of it. It's just sort of teaching. It's kind of like having a voice lesson, like sort of teaching people how to sing. It's really fun.
I think, first of all, the most important thing a director can have is good communication skills. And I think that unfortunately, a lot of directors don't. And they may have in their head what they want, but they don't know how to convey it to the actor, and that's a problem. So you really have to be able to speak to people and communicate what it is you want from them. And, you know, it does vary, you know, with different actors and different projects. And, you know, as Chris was saying, when you're doing a dubbing project, you do have to kind of remain true to the project and what the original creation is. I've had the good fortune to be able to direct some original animated films and things like that, and that's wonderful because then you just have a clean slate and go in and play with the actors, and it's really a lot of fun doing that. So.
I just want to see if I can answer, I guess, several questions, and they're all very good questions. I just want to make sure I get it right. I agree with all my colleagues here. I think for me, in terms of, you're talking about how much control you have after it's in your hands, that's a really good question because, and producing and such. At the studio, I've also been at the studio working. At the studio I worked at, which was NYB Post, we had a very small staff, meaning it was me and Michael for a while. And so I was, you know, essentially producing myself and making a lot of creative decisions. But as far as how much control you have, to give you an example, I adapted a lot of the script myself, and when they started doing writing, they hired a writer, and it was good, but I was directing the show, and I was changing every single line as we went. And I had that kind of lead latitude, because I just didn't like it. I mean, the writer's a fine writer, I just didn't agree with it. As far as acting and getting the best out of an actor, when I first started, I made the mistake a lot of directors make, is I kind of made it my own vision, and I kind of really directed everything the way I wanted to hear it. And then I realized, one, I was working too hard, and two, my shows were one note. So what I mean was everybody sounded like how I would act. So then I kind of, thought about it and I, grew as a director, and I have made this what I call the 80% rule, which is if it's up to a certain standard, if it's below a certain standard, I'm going to still focus on my vision. Once it gets above a certain standard and I'm like, it's good, yes, because I'm letting the talent bring into, I don't want it to suck, but once it gets good enough, if you let your talent bring their view to it, then you have a show that's greater than the sum of its parts.
Absolutely.
And that's so important because my shows got better, and I worked this hard because I'm not trying to make it that way. I'm like, show me what you got. And when I start, I wouldn't start directing that way, but I mean, it's kind of my attitude. And a lot of times I'll take a first take if it's just visceral and reactive, and it's a good actor, and I'm given the right direction. I totally agree with Richard about communication. And sometimes you want to give less communication. If I'm directing, sometimes you have a lot of background, and they don't need that, or sometimes they do, and then you have to direct the cue again. Sometimes you just want to say, do exactly what you did. Hit this word harder. Or sometimes you got to go back and say, oh, no, here's the emotional content. Here's what's going on in the storyline. The other thing that's really hard for dubbing directors, and I'm sure you all agree with me, is that we haven't heard the whole show once the first guy's recording. So as other people come in, you've got to keep the vision of how all the dialogue connects together so it sounds like they're talking to each other. Because you only have one part, then the next part, and then as it comes together at the end, then it starts to make sense. But you've got, between session to session, you've got to make sure you keep all that in your head straight. So I do a lot of review over, okay, is that going to fit? Is that going to fit? And then after it's all done, then we review again. And then after that, if I want to do pickups, there's that. So I hope that, I had a lot of control when I was directing. I mean, probably too much. I got in trouble a few times because I kind of just, I'm the kind of director that's like, yeah, we'll do that. I'm like, oh, sorry, it's late. Oh, this is all I can do. Which is not a good thing to do. I got in trouble with that. But then I behaved myself later.
To tie in real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
To tie in before
Sure.
Tom, I love the collaborative aspect.
Yeah.
And I will say this, 90% of what is wonderful in shows that I've directed has been an actor going, I think I got a better one. Can I try it one more time? And anytime an actor thinks they've got something that is going to be better, I think 9 times out of 10 they're right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Because their headspace is really in the character, especially if you've been playing the character a long time. And your headspace is in all the characters, So it really helps to let them bring their talent to the table. And that's really important.
That's a good director, to let your actors do that, because not all directors do that. They go,
Cast-
no, we got to move it on.
Cast well and trust your
Trust your talent. That's why they're called talent.
Casting is 80% of it.
Yeah, well, that's the preparation. Having a good script, having good, accurate casting helps very much, because then you just let the actors act, let them do their jobs. And as a director, I like to give them as much prep as possible. This is like, this is your character, this is who you are, this is what you know, this is what you're doing, this is what's happening in the scene. Go, and then just let them do their thing. And then if they're going off course, then they're back on course, rather than getting being too micromanaging with it. And also, see, none of us are the boss. We're all working for somebody when you do this. And a lot of that then depends on who you're working for. In terms of, let's say with anime, how much do you want it to be just like the Japanese? Some want it to be very much just like the Japanese. Some people want to change things, People bitch about 4 kids all the time, whatever. The thing you gotta understand with those programs and what they were doing, they weren't marketing them to you, to anime fans. They were marketing them to a wide audience, middle America. And listen, it's about marketing, it's about money. Anything that seems too foreign, and no offense if you're from the middle of the country, but anything that seems too foreign might scare off people from the middle of the country sometimes. So, from a business standpoint, they're like, well, let's change these things. And then if that's what the producers are saying, then that's what you do,
Because you want to keep working.
What's that?
If you don't do what the producers ask you to, then you won't keep working.
Yeah, and and whatever, and it's fine. Because they've had tremendous success, but then with other companies who want to keep things very true to the Japanese, the audience that they're marketing it towards, is an audience, and that wants to hear that, so then that's what we do. And, it's, I'm given a lot of leeway to change things if I need to when I'm working with people, even on Pokemon, and they like things to be, with Pokemon, it's like they want to be true to the Japanese, but Pokemon has a long